Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to study about tissue fluid. Okay, at first we should know about what is the meaning of tissue fluid, but because before knowing about the tissue fluid, we should know about how the tissue fluid is formed. So these are the arteries. We know that arteries, they break down and they form arterioles, and then the arterioles break down and form blood capillaries. And then the blood capillaries unite and they form venules, and the venules they unite and they form what? Veins. Okay, artery break down and form what? Arteriole break down and form capillaries unite and they form venules, and then venules they unite and they form what? Veins. We know that artery and arteriole, they are muscular, thick and elastic structure. So the blood cannot leak out of the blood capillaries. And how are the capillaries? Capillaries are only one cell thick structure. They are made up of single layer of epithelium, and these single layer of epithelium has small gaps in it. Because of these small gaps, the small and diffusible substances can leak out of the blood capillaries. Clear? So in the arteries, what flows in the arteries? In the arteries, the blood it flows. And what does the blood contains? The blood contains plasma, which is a pale yellowish liquid which contain dissolved food substances, glucose, oxygen, amino acid, and if it is coming in the kidney, then it contains urea and uric acid as well. Okay. Besides that, the blood it contains plasma and blood cells. Blood cells are RBCs, WBCs, and platelets. Platelets are not blood cells. Okay. So, in the arteries, what is present in the artery? The plasma is present, and the plasma it contains what? It contains blood cell as well. So, in the artery, we know that the blood pressure is very high. Why in the artery blood pressure is very high? Because this pressure is generated by the left ventricle of the heart. And because the left ventricle is the most muscular chamber of the heart, that's why in the artery the blood pressure is very high. Because in the artery blood pressure is very high and the artery break down and form the blood capillaries, and artery can withstand that blood pressure. Why the artery can withstand that blood pressure? Because the arteries are very thick and very muscular structure, whereas the capillaries are only one cell thick structure. Due to which what happen? Because at the arterial end of the blood capillaries, blood pressure is very high, therefore small and diffusible substances will leak out of the blood capillaries. Now, what are those small and diffusible substances which are present in the blood? Those small and diffusible substances are water, gases like oxygen, carbon dioxide, glucose, fatty acid, urea, ions, smaller proteins, for example, antibodies, okay, and some WBCs as well. Now, red blood cells are not able to pass out of the blood capillaries. Why? Because red blood cells are too big to pass out of the blood capillary. Same are the protein molecules. The big protein molecules cannot pass out of the blood capillary. Why? Again, because they are too big to pass out of the one-celled thick wall of the blood capillary. Okay, so the leaked plasma that comes out of the blood capillaries, which is present in this gray area, this leaked plasma is called what? Tissue fluid. So what is this tissue fluid? Tissue fluid is a leaked plasma in which body cells bathe. We know that the capillaries are formed at the cellular region of any organ. Artery divide into arterioles and then into capillaries within the organ, and we know that in the organ cells are present, tissue and then cells are present. Okay, so when the leaked plasma it moves out of the blood capillaries, then it will form what? It will form tissue fluid. So what is tissue fluid? Tissue fluid is a leaked plasma which is present where? Which is present in between the capillaries and the body cells. What this tissue fluid contain? This tissue fluid contain water, gases, glucose, fatty acid, urea and ions. Okay. Now, these oxygen, glucose, amino acid will gain entry in the body cells. Okay. That's how the body cell can get oxygen, glucose and amino acid. These body cells will utilize this oxygen and glucose in the process of respiration, and they release what? Carbon dioxide. They release what? Because of the deamination of amino acid. If it's a liver cell, then the deamination of amino acid will occur, and because of which the urea will form. This urea is also present in the tissue fluid. So this carbon dioxide, urea and other nitrogenous waste will gain entry in the blood capillary at the venous end of the blood capillary. Why they will gain entry at the venous end of the blood capillary? Because at the venous end of the blood capillary, blood pressure is very low. At the arterial end of the blood capillary, blood pressure is very high. Therefore, they will gain entry at the venous end of the blood capillary. Now come back to this diagram. In this diagram, these are the body cells and these are the tissue fluid. This gray area is called tissue fluid. So from the tissue fluid, the glucose, amino acid and oxygen will gain entry in the body cells, whereas the body cell will excrete out carbon dioxide, urea and uric acid. So they are also present in this tissue fluid. Okay. So these carbon dioxide, urea and uric acid will return back to the blood capillaries at the venous end of the blood capillary. Okay. Why at the venous end of the blood capillary? Because at the venous end of the blood capillary, blood pressure is very low. These capillaries will unite and they form vein. Then through the vein, it will gain entry in the heart. Through vena cava, it will gain entry in the right atrium of the heart. Okay. Now, what happened to the big protein molecule which are present in this tissue fluid, or those substances which are unable to gain entry in the blood capillaries because they are too big to gain entry in the blood capillaries? Those substances which are unable to gain entry in the blood capillary will gain entry in these lymphatic vessels. These white colored region is called lymphatic vessel. Now, why will they gain entry in the lymphatic vessel? Because lymphatic vessel has big gaps. Their endothelial cells have big gaps. Due to these big gaps, the big protein molecule or big fat molecule, they can gain entry in the lymphatic capillary. So the blood that is flown in this lymphatic capillary, it is not called blood, it is not called plasma, but it is called lymph that is flowing in the lymphatic capillary. Remember the one lymphatic capillary that is present in the ileum? In the ileum there is a lymphatic capillary which was known as lacteal. This is the blood capillary. In the blood capillary there is the diffusion of glucose and carbon dioxide and amino acids. Whereas in the lacteal, as the fatty acid and glycerol, once after gaining through entry through the single layer of epithelium, they unite and they form fats again. As fats are too big to pass through the one cell thick wall of the blood capillary, therefore it will gain entry in the lacteal. The lacteal is again a lymphatic capillary. Why it can gain entry in the lymphatic capillary but it cannot gain entry in the blood capillary? Because in the blood capillary, the endothelial cells, between the endothelial cells, very small gaps are present. Through these small gaps, only small substances can pass through. Whereas in the lymphatic capillary, in the lymphatic endothelial walls, the gaps are big so that the big fat molecule, big protein molecule can also gain entry in the lymphatic capillary. Clear? So what is tissue fluid? Tissue fluid is simply a leaked plasma that comes out of the blood capillary in which body cells bathe. It is the medium for exchange of material between cells, these body cells, which are present within each and every organ, and the blood. The blood which is present in the blood capillary, it will come out and present in between the body cells and the blood capillary. This blood that comes out of the blood capillary is called tissue fluid. Okay. So tissue fluid is formed from blood plasma and it will return to the blood eventually. Clear?